My name is Barry Goff. I'm here today with Jason Kozel, and we're from Crowdbotics, and we'd like to talk to you about code reuse and CodeOps. Our company has been around since 2016. We're based in Berkeley, California, and for the last 7 years, we've been building apps for companies of all sizes, from small startups to the US Air Force to multinational manufacturing and telecommunications companies. We've built 25,000 apps over the last 7 years. And one of the things that we've realized in building all these apps for all these companies is there's an enormous amount of similarity across those applications. And at the same time, there have been 2.8 trillion lines of code written in the last 20 years, and it's still not enough. We talk to companies every day who complain about the fact that there are more apps that they need to build, but they just don't have the capacity to build those apps. There's a massive gap between the needs that companies have for more applications with what they're actually able to deliver. So our company is on a mission to transform how software is developed, to unlock those 2.8 trillion lines of code so that people can build the apps that make the difference more easily and efficiently. And that's a big mouthful, but at the end of the day, what it means is we're here to help companies reuse the code they already have. Now, code reuse isn't anything new. Jason and I have been in the industry for a long time, and there have been lots of attempts at code reuse. The problem is most of those attempts fail. The strategies for reusing code are often disruptive. They often require developers to learn non-standard languages or build apps that live in walled gardens, or the process for reusing code is just a tack-on afterthought to existing processes where it just doesn't work. Or the technology that they're relying on is immature, and so for that reason, it also doesn't work. With the introduction of the latest generation of AI models, there is a new opportunity to enable code reuse that will succeed. And what Crowdbotics has focused on is creating a new approach to leveraging Gen AI to enable companies to reuse code. And we refer to that new process and methodology as CodeOps. And there are two core ideas within this concept of CodeOps. One is using Gen AI to turn ideas into specifications, and then using Gen AI to turn those specs into code. And we can break that down further into discrete process steps. So when we talk about idea to spec, we can use Gen AI to create high quality, comprehensive PRDs. And then from there, we can use AI to match reusable code with the specs that have been defined in the PRDs. We can assemble those reusable code modules into a nearly complete application and hand that to a development team that fills in all the blanks. So using this methodology, we can enable a company to actually be able to reuse code. So in addition to developing this methodology, Crowdbotics is introducing the Crowdbotics platform that enables customers to take advantage of CodeOps within their own organization and reuse their code. And the Crowdbotics platform starts with a set of capabilities we refer to as PRD-AI that use a generative AI model to help them create their PRDs. And then we have a set of capabilities we refer to as Match AI that enables a customer to take all those features defined in the PRD and match them with reusable code modules that could be in a private library, a customer's own private library of code, or using Crowdbotics' public library of reusable code modules. Again, another set of features we refer to as Assembly AI takes all those modules and creates a repository, primarily in GitHub, that includes all the code from the modules that were identified in PRD PRD-AI and with the Match AI algorithm. And then finally, because this is all your code and it's all real code sitting in a GitHub repository, you can use your own IDE of choice, your own languages, your own frameworks, your own infrastructure, in order to fill in whatever gaps remain. And in fact, you can use Copilot to fill in those gaps. So that is a super high level overview of the Crowdbotics platform. Now I'm going to hand off to Jason to give us a demo of the platform. Jason?
Thanks, Barry. So Jason Kozel, Enterprise Solutions Architect here at Crowdbotics. Let's take a look at the platform. So here we have an application that has been created by Crowdbotics platform. Before we jump into the workflow of the CodeOps framework, I want to show you what's created by the app or by Crowdbotics. So here we have a GitHub repository that contains the entire scaffold of an application. Consider this the hello world for Crowdbotics. This is a basic foundational application that we can now input modules and then have a fully functioning application. So let's jump into the CodeOps framework as it applies, and we'll start with define. So here we have the planning tab. I go ahead and click PRD-AI and generate the build plan. So what's happening now? We took that simplistic prompt and we're running it through our large language model to create epics and user stories. And then for those user stories, creating descriptions and acceptance criteria to make a fully fledged specification document or planning requirement document. Short for that, we use the term PRD. So PRD-AI, Product Requirements Document, Artificial Intelligence, and this is what we're building now. So we see at the top there, the prompt that we use within the app description. Now from that prompt, it's very simplistic, very straightforward, and not very detailed. Immediately to the right, we see the user types defined. So the large language model has taken that prompt and created user types that we will then apply to each one of the user stories below. As you can see, the epic here and the user stories with the descriptions and acceptance criteria popping up and the assigned user types for each one of these areas. Some of the other things that you can utilize within the platform, if we think of the original prompt as a project level prompt, we're creating the entire specification document. You also have the ability to add a specific feature in a similar manner. So if I were to click in here, describe a feature, this feature will then get added to the PRD. Another area, suggest features with AI. This particular feature We'll take a look at the product requirements document and suggest things that you may not have thought of. So this may take a few seconds, but what's happening is that we're running the PRD through the large language model again to think or come up with new suggestions that will enhance and amend the product requirements document. Some things that it's pretty fun to use, and I highly recommend it. And this is going to take a few seconds here, so I'm going to let this run. Another area, analyze risks. It's going to take a look at that same product requirements document and then analyze risks based upon what it finds. Things like two-factor authentication. Is this something that should be included into the application? Other areas in terms of data protection. Maybe you're creating an app that is global and you need to adhere to various government agency requirements guidelines related to that data. And they're quickly defined here for you to use and copy and create your own adjustments to the PRD as you see fit. So the next thing I want to scroll down to is, and this is where we start to shift into that. So this is the define phase, and we're shifting into the match phase now. You can see here at the bottom, public modules and private modules. Let's take a look at what these look like within the platform from a different view. Here we have the module catalog. And just to recap, I went to Studio and then clicked on the modules button. We have a private catalog, which highlights various modules that I've created and are specific to the organization of CB Demo. You can see the documentation associated with this, as well as another one, defining all of the dependencies, directions to get this up and running, configurations, everything necessary to have this module added to the application that I showed you earlier, and then up and running as quickly as possible. We also have a public catalog. This is open to any user at Crowdbotics. Currently, we have 371 modules that can be added to any application to give you a decent starting point for any application that you're building. You can take this code, customize it, and make it private if you like. Either way, you have a starting off point to add features and functionality to the base Crowdbotics application. So now that we have a good look at what this looks like, let's go back to the planning phase and quickly just do a quick recap. So we're matching. We've defined within the product requirements document the epics, user stories, descriptions, acceptance criteria, users, etc. Now we're matching modules, both public and private. So what does this look like? Let's jump over back to that GitHub repository. So within this, I have installed the module, a specific module for the generic dashboard. This is one of the private modules that we highlighted. So if I click in here, we can see the README that was within the area that I showed you for the modules, that different view with all of the modules available to my private organization. We have the code associated with this. And everything that you see here can be cloned onto a local machine and then utilized by your IDE of choice in any way that you need to make this functional for your bespoke, unique needs for application development. So let's say I wanted to make a quick change. I will utilize GitHub Copilot to make adjustments to the code that has already been written. And you can see here some of the output that it is creating. I just told it to make a styling change. And it's outputting something here for me to do. But the real workflow here is that utilizing GitHub, Crowdbotics, big fan of GitHub, and GitHub Copilot to take you through that last phase of the complete. So just to recap and review, We've gone through the define, which is the product requirements document you see here, the matching, which is the matching of the modules, the assemble. So from here, we would install either from the PRD, or you can do manually one by one within the modules here. And then the complete phase, taking that repository, making the adjustments, pushing it back up, and having a fully functioning application using the tools you know and love and the technologies that are cutting edge. So thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to meet you. Back to you, Barry.
Awesome. So again, thanks, Jason, for the overview of the Crowdbotics platform and how you can use our platform to reuse code. The benefits of CodeOps and the Crowdbotics platform are really high impact. 65% reduction in the cost of traditional software projects. You can reduce the amount of net new code that's required by more than 37%. And developer productivity, it takes a massive jump. The most important thing, though, is because the Crowdbotics platform is taking care of a lot of the toil and repetitive code when building new projects, because we're sourcing that code from these reusable code modules. The code that developers focus on is the code that makes the difference. It's the code that's delivering new, unique, differentiating capabilities for your organization, and gives developers the opportunity to really be the center of innovation that they always should be. So with that, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to learn about Crowdbotics and CodeOps and how we're using AI to deliver systematic code reuse. And I wish you a great rest of your day. Thank you.